think like my boy Roy Jones said, sometimes we forgot. My good men, as we go from 21 to 22, going into next year, we got to finish the year strong, baby. And let's not forget what God did and what he brought us through over the last couple of years, more importantly, in your entire life. And one of the things I think we do very often is we do forget that he brought us a mighty long. Remember that song? He brought us a mighty long way. And I think sometimes it's important for us to harken back to that and remember what he did, because we have a generation of impact that comes behind us, and our children need to know about God's goodness by way of the stories that we tell them and let them know. But just like the children, I know we as men, we sometimes forget all the mountains that God got us over to the next phase of our lives, the things that we were going through financially, the job search, or the things of our past, or the women, or the cars, or the money, or the things that so, tempt us or delay us in what God has for us. So when we sometimes go back to childlike state, we need a reminder, because our children, you and I know that our children sometimes forget about the goodness of what we've done for them in their lives, how we've come to their rescue on multiple occasions, how we've clothed them, fed them, put a roof over their head, and given them the things that are necessary. But I think sometimes we as men, we have to be reminded of God's goodness, of all the things we forget about in our daily lives. We cannot forget about God, because he will remind us. Now let's take a closer look of exactly what I'm talking about. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 4. Let's start at verse 8. And what great nation has decrees and regulations as righteous and as fair as this body of instructions that I am giving you today? That's God speaking to his people, letting them know, look, no matter where you live, don't get yourself caught up in this American culture, this culture, wherever culture you're in, or wherever place on the map that you reside. At the end of the day, there's nothing greater than God's commands, what he called us to, what we're supposed to be doing. So at the end of the day, no matter what's going on around us, we know that their regulations don't measure up to what God has called us to. Now in verse 9, it goes even further. But watch out. Remember that word, watch out. Why is he saying watch out? Because we have to be watchful and be careful not to get lost in the shuffle of what's going on around us. Be careful never to forget what you yourselves have seen with your eyes. Do not let these memories, the things that he's done, escape from your mind as long as you live, and be sure to pass them on to your children and your children's children. This very important point, and only key point I wanted to give you for today and forevermore, is let's not forget, at the end of the day, God's laws and commands abide and should abide in his people. And if we are his people, let's stand by that word, and let's never forget what he's brought us through, the places that he's taken us, the depths that he's brought us from, and where he's taken us tomorrow. And you all know in God's word, you all know that when we don't forget the promises and purpose that God placed upon us and has given us, what he can do when he shows up and does his thing in our lives and on our generations of mind. Having a clear direction, having a pathway to succeed in life. Success doesn't always look the same. Again, that's a worldly culture, or whatever environment you're in, that sometimes we get caught up in the regulations and the decrees or the things that are going on around us. It says, hey, this is how we instruct you on how to get famous. This is how we instruct you on how to do well, how to gain riches. But God's word stands and stands alone all by itself. A guide, a roadmap, a blueprint. As we all know it, the blueprint to life, that Bible. And like Roy Jones said, some of y'all must have forgot who the undisputed champ is. Christ, the King, baby. Speak on it. You know where I'm coming from, so don't play. Pay attention to the things that God has done in your past so you can affect the generation that comes after you. As always, your man Ation, outside the box. You know how we get down every other Friday, and I'm signing off.